And we're back at it again for another live one to all my Biconics fans out there on the YouTube internet lands. And welcome to another edition of El Jefe y El Oso Loco, your team of two to review NXT for this week for September 5th, 2023. I am so happy to be back. This was an interesting episode for sure. But of course, I am not doing this alone. As I mentioned, this is a two-person show. I am El Jefe Mikey, and joined with me, as always, is El Oso Loco. Will, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. This is a good day today. So I'm in a great place to talk about some NXT and some crazy cray stuff happening. So yeah.
NXT has. I've been watching NXT for a very long time, and they managed to keep surprising me. And they did something in our main event that I have yet to see in all this time. And I've seen some crazy stuff in NXT, but I'm so excited to get into it. So, we talked a little bit before we started recording. This was an interesting episode because it felt like a tale of two different shows happening concurrently. The first plot point is that you have all the players and everything that is building towards NXT's next PLE event, No Mercy, which is happening Saturday, September 30th. So at the end of the month. So we got the next 3 weeks to kind of build everything out. And then tale 2 of tonight is you just have all the other matches and feuds that have been happening on NXT television, and then they're continuing to tell all these. So it's a lot of moving pieces around and a lot of different players involved in the two storylines. And it kind of didn't mesh very well like it normally does. I think the pacing was off of this episode because you had a majority of the stuff be towards the No Mercy build, and then sprinkled in between is all the regular NXT development. And there's way too many possibilities of what can and can't end up on the No Mercy card. This was interesting. I still enjoyed it, but the pacing was really weird. Sir, you are muted.
How weird. How did that happen? This is a new program we're using. I don't know how that happened. So
upgrades.
I hit something. Sorry about that. So yeah, but we were talking before we started recording. Yeah, the pacing. Pacing is what it is. I think that is correct. It felt off in its pacing. Because there were great moments of momentum, and then it's almost stopped. And I was telling Mikey earlier, it's like as a theater professor, it's when I'm watching a play and an actor drops character on stage, it kicks you out of the story. And there were moments like that. Yeah, it was the pacing. That's what it was. I was like, gosh, there's something off about this event. Again, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it. But there was something that was irritating me about it, and I couldn't figure out what it is. And you said that, and that's totally it. It was the pacing. You're right. The pacing was off tonight. That's true. That's what it is. Good for you. Look at you. Well done.
You know what? I try. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, why don't we dissect the weird pacing of the show and just jump straight to it? So, we begin, which I was surprised because I was not expecting a championship match to start off NXT. And then, of course, like what NXT normally does is usually matches start, like we just get into the match and just everything start as the episode begins. So we don't get full entrances, but this week we start off for the NXT Women's Championship. We have Tiffany Stratton, Quinn Barbie, as we have come to name her.
Barbie Quinn.
Barbie Quinn. Quinn Barbie Quinn. We love Tiffany in this household. Defending her title against challenger Kiana James. So as a refresher, Kiana James won the Fatal 4-Way last week on NXT by beating Gigi Dolan, Blair Davenport, and Roxanne Perez to get this opportunity. The only complaint I really have about this match is how short it was. I was like, aw. I wanted like maybe 3 more minutes.
Yeah, it was way too short. I mean, and I have it in my notes. I was like, way too short. both of these women had more in them. And I was like, they weren't tired, they weren't exhausted, they weren't, they was like, I was like, no, what just happened? No, we're not ready for that. And yeah, it was way too short because both of these women were doing it, man. They were going after it. All kinds of stuff was happening in this match, and then suddenly it was over. And I was, and if you're going to open, and this is one of my biggest issues, if you're going to open your event with something that's going to be this freaking awesome, because I was in it, do not make it short. It needs to be a long thing to get the crowd hyped. And I don't know if this is because it's a women's match and they think, oh, longevity, they can't, maybe they won't hold the audience's attention, maybe. I don't know, but I was in it. I was on this match. And then it was suddenly it was just over. And I was like, no, 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 no. I mean, I had more in me. I was like, I want to watch more. And I honestly believe that both of them had more in them. They just, the network or whoever just said, okay, this is going to be a short match. And it was a championship match. That's what I don't get. I mean, it was a championship match. Why are you nickel and diming a championship match? Because let me tell you, there were other fights in tonight's event that could have been shortened, could have been truncated easily. But and yeah, I was so mad. Oh my gosh, I was so mad. I was so mad that it ended. I was texting with Mikey while I was watching it, and I was like, "Well, that was short." I was like, "What the heck?" Yeah, so I don't know. I know, I'm getting kind of irritated with how women are treated in these events. I really am, because and I'll say it, and I'll say it till I go to my grave. 9 times out of 10, the women's matches are better than the men's. Full on. 9 out of 10. Yeah, you'll have a crappy one. You always do. But 9 out of 10, those women's matches are on fire. They are after each other. They are hungry for it, and it's not a show. The men's matches are like show business. It's spectacle. Women's matches are like brutal and fighting, and I mean, it's like, oh my god, I love it. I love watching the moves. Both of these women had awesome moves in this match, and they had more in them. And I'm so irritated that their match was cut so short. I was so mad. Ugh.
Yeah, because I at least wanted 3 more minutes, like I mentioned,
Yeah.
because now I was a little surprised in the sense that Kiana got a lot of the offense in during this match for like
Mm-hmm.
maybe a good 2/3 of it. But then, as soon as the purse came into play, then that's when things broke down. So Tiffany gets the
Yeah.
purse to try to hit Kiana with her own purse. How dare she?
I know, right?
That's rude to get hit with your
then
own
the
purse.
referee just sort of like goes, "Here, take this away." I was like,
Like all gingerly, he's like, "Here,
"Yeah,
take this."
like,
It's like I don't
here's
want
the
to throw it
tag."
out because this is kind of
Yeah.
designer, so it's just like being
It was
careful.
so funny. I watched it. He's like, here's the bag.
And then while the ref is doing that, that gives Tiffany the opportunity to kind of rake the eye a little bit, and then she gets Kiana to the ground, and then Tiffany hits the prettiest moonsault ever. God, her moonsault is still the best in the business right now. It's so clean. And she hits
Was
the
that the
prettiest,
move off the
yeah,
top?
where she jumped off the rope and then did
Oh
like
my
the backflip.
god, that was beautiful.
Okay, do you know how hard it is like to keep like your all your legs and arms like straight as you do
Straight
that
out.
momentum? I was just like,
God.
she was like a perfect 90-degree
Yep.
angle the whole way through.
It was beautiful.
She has the best moonsault in the business right now, but she hits the
Man.
prettiest moonsault ever and gets the pin to retain her championship. So, to be perfectly honest, I didn't think Kiana was going to win here
Oh, me either.
because, I mean, we're kind of still in the beginning phases of Tiffany's run.
Right.
I did enjoy the match, but let me tell you that what happened afterwards got me excited, especially because, listen, we support women's wrestling here on the Biconics.
Hell yeah,
And
we do.
and all of the Biconics boys have said on multiple reviews for the shows and the pay-per-views that women's wrestling just sometimes is better than the men's matches. go check
Mm-hmm.
out our All Out and Payback reviews from this past weekend to see more reasons why. But we on the Titantron, we get Becky Lynch, the man, the Irish lass kicker, as she has been called too. And she cuts a promo of how Tiffany went to Payback in Monday Night Raw and kind of confronted Becky because Becky has never held the NXT Women's Championship. And I don't understand why, but you know what? It's okay. But she cuts a promo. She tells Tiffany, since you invaded my house, I'm going to go invade yours. And next week in the main event, might I add you, it's going to be Tiffany Stratton defending her NXT Women's Championship against the man herself, Becky Lynch. And then, of course, I love when wrestlers use the catchphrases of their opponents in like a distasteful way. She's like,
Yes.
Toodles. And then she walks off camera as the Titantron
Oh, it
fades.
was great.
Listen, I am a huge Becky Lynch fan. She is an amazing wrestler. She has had some of my favorite women's matches on the main roster since she came up. And the fact that it's a crime she's never held that NXT Women's Championship. God, I hope next
So
week, Will, they give this match some time. I want some time. Do not give me
I
7 minutes.
see, and this is what I'm saying. They have this promo has built this fight up because that was a damn good promo. And I'm like, if they do not give this fight its justice, I'm going to be pissed because you're bringing her back against Tiffany, who is constantly like, I am better, I am the best, I am this, talks her trash, which, I love me some Barbie Quinn. I love her. But as all good things, trash talk comes due. And then here we go. And this, it was such a great build up. And I was like, this is going to be a really good match, or at least it damn well better be. And I agree with you. This needs to be like what we would call in the theater business. This needs to be on the main stage. This needs to be like a spotlight fight. They need to like market the hell out of it. They need to build this fight because this is going to be good. Because I am curious if this is their build to a takedown with which I would be totally fine with, because sometimes you got to be knocked off your high horse every once in a while. And this is what this has a feeling to me that this is bringing in like the big guns to take down Tiffany. I really do believe, and now whether it'll happen that way or not, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But it does have that feeling that's like nobody can take her down except dun dun dun. And yeah, I love the coming on the Titantron, and yeah, using her catchphrase at the end was great. I mean, it was beautiful. It was so well done. That was a promo to me. To me, that was one of the best ones I've seen in a while. As long as I've been doing it, I haven't been doing it that long, but it is one of my favorites so far.
Oh man, it is. I'm excited because I want time with this for Tiffany, who is just, she's been wrestling for about 2 years now. And the fact she gets to face off against probably one of the top women in WWE right now is such a great opportunity. And I'm really excited for her. If I'm interested to see what happens in the match, we're going to have to watch next week to find out. But I would not hate it if we got a rematch at No Mercy on a grander stage. Like, man, I'm excited. This is gonna be great. And it's so great. So this kind of kicks off NXT and it sets up everything we're about to see, kind of. Next, we head backstage and we see the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile kind of reclaim their space with the Diamond Dojo for Diamond Mine now that all of them are back together again. And this serves as a purpose to kind of show all the tag teams that we have in NXT currently for the men's side, because this will be a recurring segment as we go on through the night. But in this particular segment, we have your NXT champions, the family, Tony D'Angelo and, Channing Stacks Lorenzo come in. You know, They banter back and forth with the Creed brothers, but then the Creed brothers thank them for the family having Ivy's back a couple weeks ago in that 3-on-3 match they had against Schism, which I was like, yes, continuity. You guys can be enemies, but the family stepped in to help Ivy when she was on her own, and I loved it.
Yep, absolutely.
So, and then as they continue talking, we get tag team number one come in. The tag team of Idris Enofe and Malik Blade kind of stake their claim that since the Creeds have been gone, which really has only been like a month at this point, but that's neither here nor there. The tag team division has changed and it's not as black and white as it used to be. So the Creeds are going to have to work their way up and they're going to have to fight everybody else if they want an opportunity at those tag titles. Because Lord have mercy, as we come to find out, there are so many tag teams in this men's division, and I am not upset about it.
No.
So
yeah,
yep.
that backstage was like a clown car, man. They kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And I was like, oh my gosh, this room is going to be packed. It was so funny.
I loved it, and we're going to continue to see more of it. But after this first segment of the Diamond Dojo, as we're going to call it, we go into another match. This time, we see Oro Mensa of Metaphor taking on Ilya Dragunov. I love Metaphor's entrance. It is so camp and superhero-y. I love it with the colors of all the members kind of just fading up until the song hits and then they all walk into the ring. Now, this match was set up last week after Ilya cut a promo in the ring, letting the audience know that he's going to be on his way back to another NXT championship opportunity. And then we're teasing Ilya versus Noam Dar at some point in whatever capacity that is. We'll just have to wait and see. But Oro Mensa kind of steps up for Noam Dar last week, and it's like, I'm going to whoop your ass, and you're going to find out next week. No, it was the opposite. Ilya, in the words of Trick Williams, that trick got whooped. Now,
yeah,
it was so great.
Oh my God, it was.
I love Oro's wrestling style. The NXT UK is showing off strong. I love his style. But man, Ilya just brutalizes his opponents.
Oh my God.
That's why I love Ilya so much. He brutalizes his opponents. It was a little more back and forth than I thought it was going to be, but ultimately, Ilya brutalizes Oro towards the end and picks up the win like we figured.
Yeah, I figured as much. It's so funny because I was a little surprised. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not really surprised. I guess I understand it, but I was a little like, wow. Also, was like kicking his ass, and that really kind of surprised me a little bit that Ilya didn't come out of this a little stronger at the beginning. But again, it may be, let's let also kind of like kick his butt, and then he makes like the comeback kid, which I'm fine with as well. But yeah, because Ilya turned around and like started eating his lunch, and I was like, that's what it should be right there, because that, and I like also his style. I did like his fighting style, but this match needed to be a let Papa teach you a lesson, child, and then you sit your ass down. Is really what this should have been. And this is one of those matches that I think could have been shorter. This is the match that should have been like, come in here, let daddy teach you what needs to be taught, let me whoop you, and then you go sit down. And it should have been way shorter. And because it should have been, I mean, Ilya should have literally come in there and like, bring it on, buddy, bring it on, child. Child goes in there, throws a little tantrum, Ilya puts him down. And then it's like, now you can go back and sit up there with your little buddies. Go on. Because it's funny later on during the Heritage match, did you see him? Like, Osa's all covered up to here.
I love those little details. And we could, oh man. Metaphor is so camp. I love them so much.
I freaking love them too. I do. I love Noam Dar. I love all of them. They're great. But I want to say this since we're on this match. Ilya Dragunov is now one of my absolute favorite wrestlers. I freaking love him. And I'm going to get to my next one that I've decided is now one of my favorites in a little bit. But Ilya, and it's partially because of last week when he did give that speech. That speech was really good. He was being sincere. He was, talking about, you know, just the respect that was flying out there. And then, of course, they started disrespecting him. And so I was like, and he took it well. That was what's so great. And then, then Oso comes down there and talks shit and whatever. And I was like, okay, I like you. And I've liked all of his backstage stuff. And there's some stuff that we're going to talk about later here in a little bit that I was like, I love you. And so, yeah. So I'm stating this to the world. Ilya Dragunov is like one of my absolute favorite wrestlers. I freaking love him. So, but yeah, this was a good match, but it could have been the short match.
Definitely. But more of our favorite peoples got involved after this because as soon as this match was over, like we didn't waste no time. Wesley's music hits and then like immediately comes down and is like, "Y'all, you need to cut my music." Which, by the way, sir, last week you said you were on a journey to find yourself, and it's only been a week. I was like, calm down with that.
Did you find
But
yourself that fast?
I was like, I mean, some people find themselves in less time than that, but sure, a week is fine, I guess. I'm not gonna harp on that too much. Wes comes in and he literally tells Ilya, he's like, he literally pulls a Kanye. He's like, I'm gonna let you finish, but it's like, what is happening here? He tells Ilya that, Ilya is definitely gonna have next in line, but he's gonna have to wait because Wes has unfinished business with Carmelo, and when he takes that title off Carmelo, then he promises Ilya he can get first crack at it. And Ilya is not having it. He's like, no, sir, we're not having this. And nobody is going to stand in my way. And basically told Wes, if you are in my way towards this championship, you are going to get destroyed. And then Wes fired back saying, "Is like, listen, dude, I have more heart than you. So if it's a challenge you want, you better be prepared." So literally, I'm just like, just fight. That's what I want to see.
Right now, I never meet you. I was like, fight it right now.
Right now, just fight right now. And then Carmelo's entrance music hits, and he makes his presence known. And then he kind of runs down the conversation he had with Shawn Michaels. He tells Ilya that in the end, there is no asterisk on his victory against him at Great American Bash, which, Ilya doesn't believe. And we're going to discuss that later because boy, oh boy, did it come back. And yes. And then he turns to Wes and tells him the same thing. It's like, he tells Ilya, you took a risk. I took advantage. Wes, you took a risk. I took advantage. But because I am fair and I want the best thing for this No Mercy match in Bakersfield, next week on NXT, it's going to be Wesley versus Ilya Dragunov, and the winner will face Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship at No Mercy. And as soon as he said that, I was like, please let shenanigans happen next week. Make it a triple threat. Make it a triple threat. Make it a triple threat. And even the crowd was like, triple threat. Triple threat.
Yeah. I love, when Dragunov is there and then Wes comes out and they're having their thing and I'm like, oh God, please fight right now. But Wes, it was really, I was like, wow, Wes. He literally walks in that ring and goes like, look, I know you're next in line, but I'm going to need you to sit down and let me take care of this. And then you and I can fight. And I was like, if I was Ilya, I'd be like, boy, what are you talking about? It's like I'm like, hell to the no, I'm not going to move out of the way. Are you kidding me? Let me go kick Carmella's ass, and then I'll come for you later, okay? So let's just do that. And I was like, okay. And then they started going back, and I thought, yes, they're about to knock knuckles, and I was so excited about it because I like both of these men. And then when Carmella came out, I was like, I felt that the challenge got weakened because of him. I felt that suddenly he comes out and he goes, well, I'm going to decide that you two are going to fight and decide who's going to fight me. And I was thinking, they were already kind of doing that. We didn't need to hear from you. And I was very much like, and I was like, it was so good. And then he comes out and he does all that. I don't have an asterisk. You did this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I literally wrote, this challenge felt weak because I think I don't think it was necessary to have Carmelo come out and do all that verbal diarrhea. I was so just like, shut up. Let these men knuckle each other. I was like, shut up. Because that's what's going to happen anyway. They were already there. They're like, bring it on. I guess we're going to be fighting next week to see who's going to fight with, against Carmelo. They were already doing it. And then he steps in there and tries to take all the glory for it. And that irritated me. And I felt that it made that whole challenge completely weak. Like it was suddenly like,
It
what the
is
hell?
yeah. I think honestly, if we wanted to make it effectively, like these Wes and Ilya going like face to face right now would be fine. Instead of Carmelo kind of coming out and taking the time of, space and airtime from his entrance to getting on the mic, I think it would, for me at least, would have been more effective if he did what Becky did, cut a video. I was like, listen, y'all. I was like, hey, Carmelo, or hey, Wes, hey, Ilya. So I talked to Shawn Michaels last week, and after our conversation, he gave me some advice that I'm going to enact. And then I think a video package or video promo with what he said in the ring would have done fine. Is like, you
Yeah.
two want to fight it out? Then I think that's fine. You both, there are ways to do it. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
again, shenanigans, please
Oh, me
shenanigans.
too.
Give me a triple threat because I am here for this.
Can I just tell you what I really wish, and in my heart of hearts, I was like, please do this. I knew they weren't going to, but I was like, please do this. Is that when Carmelo walked his ass up in the middle of those two men, they should have knocked his ass on the ground and said, "We'll one of us is going to see you next time," and then let him then walked away. I would have been like, hell yes,
Oh
that
yes.
would have been like, I am here for it. It's like because I am all for either one of those men fighting Carmelo. I really am. I want West to fight him because I want West to have some vindication, but I really want Ilya to fight him because I want Ilya to wipe the mat with him. And because Carmelo is one of those wrestlers that I'm just like, you need to be knocked down a peg. Because he was like super, and I'm going to go back to last week, he was super freaking disrespectful to so many people. And they're all, a lot of them are just like, hey dude, we're here, congrats, blah 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 blah. And he's like, hey, I don't need all that from you. I'm like, why has no one punched this man in his face?
You know
I
what?
was like,
That brings up something very interesting. Now that you bring that up, I felt that the way that Carmelo handled this segment, I feel changed his character in a direction that I'm kind of not here for because I really enjoyed the more paranoid Carmelo we got. It's like, listen,
yeah,
man, there's an asterisk on, there's this asterisk against my win against Ilya, and Wes almost took me out. Like, I want a paranoid Carmelo who is always
yes,
like, listen, y'all, I appreciate the stuff, but and I want Carmelo to start to feel the pressure of being
huh?
champion. It's just like and get paranoid. Like you could
Yeah,
be the paranoid heel character who can still put on good matches, but it's just like,
yep,
listen, I need to vindicate myself here. I need to be the one to put down Ilya and put down Wes. But he thinks that those two are always after him when those two just want to
yeah,
fight and
yeah,
continue into, but I feel that this direction, that the way that Carmelo handled it this week, I was like, we're going toward the typical cocky heel that is, I already beat you guys once, so I already know all your tricks. And I think if they play it right, I think that's going to be the downfall where one of them, whoever it is, or if we get a triple threat, it's the same thing for Wes and Ilya. They both face Carmelo, so they know what he's capable of too. So it goes both ways. And Wes and Ilya are no stranger to each other in the ring. So these three men know how each other operate. And I think there's a beautiful story to be told. And we're going to get part of that story next week between Wes and Ilya to see who becomes number one contender. But I agree with you. I think Carmelo didn't really need to be there in person, at least, and the Titantron video, or even Shawn Michaels filming something real quick would have been fine to set it up. So, but I'm excited for next week, and I'm excited to see this match. Uh, Again, so this next series of segments kind of follows the thing that we've been talking about, how we dislike in NXT. We get an interview, then we get part of an entrance, and then we go to a promo when we come back from commercial, and then we get to the other. So we're just gonna go in sequential orders. We start with a backstage interview with Mackenzie, talking to Nathan Frazier, and Mackenzie basically asks Nathan, many people have told you that you are just an energizer bunny, but they've also told you you need to slow down. And because you didn't slow down, that's what kind of resulted in your loss last week. How are you going to remediate that? And Nathan's like, I hear what people are saying. I understand. But if I listened to the critics and I didn't give 110% all the time, I wouldn't be here in NXT. So I'm just going to keep doing me, is essentially what this interview was. And I like Nathan. I don't want him to
Uh
slow
huh.
down.
Yeah.
What I appreciated is that he dashed off screen and then literally just seamlessly transitioned into his entrance. I love that part. So we get that part of the entrance. And when we come back from commercial, we're backstage again and we're with the Mean Girls and Gigi Dolan. This segment was so great. So
Yep.
once again, we see JC and Thea hanging out, talking. Gigi comes in and she's not yelling at Thea for hanging out with JC, but she's trying to warn her. It's like, listen, I've been in a faction with JC. Just be wary because the moment she gets the chance to better an opportunity for herself, she's going to turn on you. And I love Thea getting feisty. It's like, you ain't going to talk to my best friend like that. I
Oh, I
loved
know.
it. And
Yeah.
then Blair comes in and makes it better. She's like, you know what, Thea? Gigi's right. You need to watch what JC is. And then literally backhands Gigi in the whole entire segment with her words.
Yep.
It's like, but Gigi wouldn't know that because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, damn, Blair,
Ooh.
we're, all three of these women are ganging up on Gigi. But I love Gigi's response. She's like, okay. So apparently talking to y'all is not enough. I was like, whose ass do I have to beat tonight?
Yep.
And then Thea steps up and is like, listen, we're going to fight it out in the ring later, so be prepared. And then the girls separate. I was like, yes. I love when the girls are fighting.
Uh-huh. And I love me some Thea's new look.
Ugh,
That
I'm going to
that
call her
darker
goth.
version.
Yeah, the goth Thea is the
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic I never knew I needed, and I'm here for it. I love that she's still wearing her Chase U gear, but now
Yes.
it's like the
It's like
alternate
it,
version. It's like
it's like the negative version of it, and I'm like, I am here for it. And there's and
the
I
darker makeup. It's
yes,
so
oh,
good.
it's so great. Yeah, it's just like darker version of herself, and I love that. Those are little touches that I love. Is it's literally it's like it's Thea. It's just like mirror universe Thea. You know, it's like it was so good. It was so great.
I love that segment. And then we go into the second entrance, and then we get this match started. So the next Global Heritage Cup Invitational match sees Nathan Frazier taking on Duke Hudson. So as Duke is entering, we get a recap that Duke and Akira Tozawa had a match on the Friday Peacock exclusive show Level Up, where Duke Hudson beat Akira Tozawa to gain 2 points. So going into this match, Nathan has none at the start of this match, and Duke already has two. Listen, I'm just get this out of the way. I love me some Duke Hudson, and that is a big man. Like, listen, those thighs, I was just like, sir, those are bigger than my head. And he's a tall dude too. Like he
He
is
is.
built and tall.
I was like, good lord, you know, it's so funny because I like in all the promo stuff, you really can't see it. But man, when he got in the ring and Fraser got in there with him, I was just like, damn, he's a big dude.
Nathan is tiny compared to Duke.
He is. I was just like, holy crap! I never would have guessed that until I saw the two of these men together. And because I mean, you know, we've seen Nathan in other things, and he's always so evenly matched, like size wise. And yeah, he got up in that ring with Duke Hudson. I was like, whoa! I was like, good lord, you're tiny, or you're just huge. I was like, it's like I don't know. I was like, wow. I was like, oh, this is going to go somewhere. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to go somewhere.
This match was a lot of fun because it was a modified version of David versus Goliath in the sense that you have a really built Duke Hudson taking on the speedster himself, Nathan Frazier. Man, when Duke threw Nathan into the corner and hit the like Nathan hit the turnbuckle, I was like, and bounced off that thing. I was like, oh my gosh. And then when Nathan did it back to Duke, the head scissors, I think is what he did. Ooh, Duke hit that really, really hard. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah,
I
I
love Duke.
know. I was just like, I mean, Duke was wiping the floor with him. I mean, because just the sheer size of the man. I mean, it was like Nathan was like a freaking rag doll, but Nathan was also like a freaking spider monkey. Man, I have never seen someone jump off of ropes and turnbuckles and just like, whew, shoo, shoo. I mean, he's like Rubber Man. I mean, he was just like bouncing off of everything and doing anything and everything he could to latch on to Duke. And I was just like, good Lord. I mean, he is. I know it's so funny that I know he's like lightning speed or whatever, but he was like zipping and zapping all in that ring. And this I never noticed it in in his earlier matches, but in this one, I was like, good Lord, he is literally bouncing off the walls.
It
And
was
whew,
insane.
it was.
And I loved it so much. And then Nathan picks up the win here. So now Nathan's on the board in his group for the Heritage, Global Invitational. And Duke still has two. I also really appreciate commentary giving us the rules every single time we have one of these matches. And then we get the leaderboard too. Like it's kind of close in this block because Joe Coffey has 2 points. Nathan has two. Duke has two. Akira has yet to get on the board, but we'll see what because we have a match next week with Akira in it, so we'll see what happens there. I'm excited. This is going to be great. So after this match, we go head back to the Diamond Dojo, and this time the Diamond Mine is talking to the tag team of, and I kid you not, Hank and Tank is the tag team name. So literally, I love these two. They're like, how do I
Oh,
put this?
these
They're like
are
your,
these. I'm sorry.
go
Are
ahead.
these the guys that were in the cutoff shorts, the cutoff jean shorts? Basically the rednecks.
Which is weird because we kind of have a redneck tag team that wasn't part of the dojo
Right.
segment, but yeah, they're literally wearing the jorts. I was
Oh
like, what
yeah.
is happening?
Oh yeah.
Listen, they're cheesy, but I love Hank and Tank as a tag team. They're pretty good. And then coming up in is NXT's newest tag team because we've only seen them in 2 matches. We have Lucius and Bronco come in, the homeboys, with Reggie kind of coming in, putting the tag division on notice and on blast. I'm like, Reggie, what are you doing here, sir? But honestly, I love it. I was just like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
yeah.
It was
I'm
like
like,
it was like tag team in the. It was so much. It was so much like we're the best tag team. We're the best tag team. No, we're the best tag team. Like it was so funny and all. And I love the Creed brothers. I just and I love their spot in this backstage bit as sort of they're just sort of like we're here, and then suddenly all these other tag teams started coming in. They're just sort of like, what are all these people doing here?
they're like, literally, who are you?
It was so funny. They're like,
So good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like,
I'm like, what is happening, you guys? This is intense. Like, everything is going off the wall. But we got 2 more tag teams. And then I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, I forgot how big this tag division is. And it only gets bigger when we get to the next part later in the show. But after this, okay, just from a sheer physical comedy perspective, this next match, Dabakato versus Tyler
hilarious.
Bate, it was hilarious. And then I was screaming at my television.
Me too.
To me, the only part that really mattered was the fact that Tyler Bate, my little strong boy, literally picks up Dabakato in his full weight and spins him around
Yes,
and does the big strong boy finisher to him. I'm like, Lord have mercy.
it was hilarious. Now, yeah, this is truly
David and Goliath. I'm like, Tyler Bay,
like
you are a tiny man. You are a tiny
yes,
man.
And it's so funny. And I don't. The match was was fun and hilarious. And I'm just in my brain. I was like, who matched these people? Like who is in there going? Oh yeah, let's just put these two together. Oh yeah, let's just put these two. Or like, let's pick random names out of a hat. Here we go. And it's like, and I'm like, what? Because I was like, there's no way that. It was like with Fraser and Buck. I was like, good lord. And then Tyler and Dabakato come out, and I'm just like, Dabakato's gonna eat him. Like, I was like, oh my god. And but one of the great things is the smaller dudes usually have more agility and dexterity
Right.
and can move
Mhm.
quicker than,
Mhm.
and he did too. I was like, he held his own against this behemoth. And you're right. My favorite moment of the night was when he picked that man up and spun him around. And I was like, what is happening right now? I was laughing so hard because he tried it a couple of times where he's like, and he finally at the end just picked him up, swinging. I was crying. I was crying laughing,
It
and
was so beautiful.
it was pure showmanship. It was pure and simple. That it was theater. It was melodrama where the hero does these Herculean things, but they're like this big, and God, it was so fun. It was so fun.
The
But
other
no,
moment I want to, yeah, the other moment I want to point out in this match too was the multiple attempts that Tyler Bate did when he tried to do the shoulder check off the rope and then the forearm, and it
yep,
didn't quite work. That was amazing. This
yep,
match served its purpose of what it needed to be. It was
yep,
short. You had big
yep,
guy versus small guy. Small guy ends up winning, which is great. So my boy
yep.
Tyler Bate, after getting beat up the last 2 weeks by Davikato, wins, and then we will see him later tonight because we're setting up his block
Yeah.
of the global invitational here, and I'm excited. Okay, this next segment gave me a little bit of a chuckle. So we see Dominic Mysterio walking in his purple ref shirt, thanks to mommy Rhea Ripley.
Ugh.
I love how disillusioned Dominic Mysterio is because he walks up to Carmelo Hayes and he basically says, "Yeah, it's tough being the champ." And Carmelo's just like, yeah, sure." In his head, Carmelo's like, "Boy, what the fuck are you talking
I
about?"
know.
What is,
Who the
sir?
hell are
We are nowhere
you?
near on the same. How dare you? We're not on the same level.
That was like 50 shades of shade, and that was a fantastic moment. He literally is like, "Hey man, I'm a champion too. Look, we're twinsies." And Carmelo was like, "Dude, get out of here." It's like, what the hell do you think you're doing?
It was a nice short segment.
It
And then
was.
once again, the second time this happens during this episode, we get kind of an entrance. Dominic makes his way to the ring with his Judgment Day entrance. And then when we come back for commercial, we have like three segments smashed together before we get the first entrance for the number one contendership match for the North American Championship. The first one was my favorite of the three. So backstage, as Dominic's in the ring with the entrance going on, we see Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez talking about how they can't stand Dominic. I'm like, girls, I'm here with you. But they're talking about how Dragon Lee, if he can take advantage of Mustafa Ali's weaknesses in his wrestling, then Lyra's fully behind Dragon Lee. And Roxanne says that, but we don't want to underestimate Mustafa because he's also really great. So I appreciate the women are like, but we don't know which way it can go. And then Kiana James storms in because she is all pissed off that she lost her championship match. I thought somebody was gonna die. She threw like the bag of ice and it almost hits one of the like extras. And I was like, Kiana, we need to be careful where we're throwing things. We almost injured one of the girls in the background. And then probably my favorite part of this women's division, Kiana tries to talk her smack to Lyra, and Lyra's like, "Girl, you need to calm down." Then she tries it with Roxanne, and Roxanne ain't having it, so she throws the arm, and the girls are fighting again, and the whole entire like women's locker room in the back have to pull them apart. And Roxanne was getting the licks in even when she's being held back. She's like,
She
literally, it's like
is.
those girl fights where she wants to pull the hair and then start whopping on them. It's like, yes, since Great American Bash, Roxanne finding her edge to her character and to her wrestling style has been one of my favorite developments for her so much. And I am excited to see where this feud between her and Kiana leads. This was a beautiful segment.
God, it was so good. See, this is what I'm telling you. Women's fighting is so much better than the men's. And I'll use tonight as an example. There were so many moments in tonight's events where the men could have thrown hands and they didn't. And it's like, oh, okay, you're just going to talk at each other? Okay, great. Yeah, woo. And the women are like, I'm about to lay hands on you if you don't shut up. And she's like, oh, really? What you going to do? And then it was like, whap. And I was like, oh, damn. And they were going. They fell into the extras in the background. And it was like, it was complete chaos. And it was freaking fantastic. And I was like, this is why women's wrestling is awesome. And it should be spotlighted because these
Seriously.
bitches will kill each other. It's like, oh my god, yeah. When she laid hands on her, I was like, "Here's to you, girl."
I love it. I
Here's
love
to
it
ya.
so much.
Because I love me some Roxanne.
I do too.
I love her no nonsense. She's like,
I will
shut
beat
your
a
mouth.
bitch's
She
ass.
doesn't even say shut your mouth. She shuts it for you. And I'm like, love you, girl.
I love Roxanne.
Roxanne,
And
if you're
then,
out there, I love you.
yes, me and Will here, we love you. Keep doing you, girl.
Yes.
So then we cut to a backstage interview, and then it was just like, you had the best thing. It was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. So I don't want to dive too much deep into it. Mackenzie's backstage with Baron Corbin, basically asks him, who do you think is going to win in this main event between Von Wagner and Braun Breaker? And basically all Baron Corbin says is like, I don't care. I'm just like, I really don't. I was like, if Von wins, cool. If Braun does, cool. But it doesn't matter to me. And that's basically what we got from it. I was like, okay, good to know. We'll see you later in commentary during the main event. We don't need to dive into it. We
we won't dive into it, but I will say this. I literally wanted to shove a hot poker up my nose. I was like, Corbin, shut the hell up. That's all I'm going to say on it. Shut up. Just shut up.
And that has been your weekly Will scream of Baron Corbin being on our television screens. It is so fun. It is a beautiful thing. Okay, so then before we get to the actual match, the last segment that kind of got crammed in here was we had our secondary backstage segment. This is like, all right, I'm going to try to get a word with Tiffany. And Tiffany's just like, oh, hell no, get out of my way, and leaves. We will talk about the promo she gives towards the end of the show because that one was my favorite of the whole entire night. And we will dive into that. So I literally wrote in my notes, Tiffany has no comment, lol.
Yep. I was like, I literally have Tiffany has no comment yet.
Yet. I was like, this is the mean girl. She's gonna have something to say once she's gone through the emotional tantrum.
Yep. There's no way she's not gonna say something. I was literally like, because when she did it, I was like, she's gonna come back later. I guarantee we're gonna hear something more from her because there's no way she's not gonna comment on some things.
I loved every single moment of it. Yep. It was so beautiful.
Yep.
So now we finally get into the match that was advertised. Yeah. NXT, we need to pace these out better because this was weird tonight. But we finally get to the match after Mustafa Ali and Dragon Lee make their entrances. We have Mustafa versus Dragon, and the winner will earn the #1 contendership to face Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American Championship at No Mercy. And I gotta say, up until the ending, I think Dominic was pretty fair this whole entire fight. I was shocked. I was like, okay, what kind of shenanigans are you going to pull? And I mean, he ended up pulling shenanigans towards the end with that fast count. Yeah. but he was pretty consistently right down the
Yeah,
middle and
he
fair.
was.
And I have to say, as far as guest referees go, his counting was better than some of the regular referees that
Yeah.
we see. I
Even
was
I
just
was
like,
surprised.
yep. I'm like watching Eddie Guerrero and your dad Rey Mysterio all the time. I was like, oh, he picked up the business. Now,
I
what
do think it was funny though because Dom did look lost at the beginning when they
I do
first started
agree.
fighting. He looked sort of like, "Oh shit, what am I supposed to be doing right now?"
And then within a couple minutes,
Yeah, he was in it.
found the groove. I was like, "Go, you go to listen." The character Dominic Mysterio versus the person. I was like, "You go, Dominic. You add referee to your resume." This was pretty good call. Now, I love the story that we're telling with the ending because Mustafa Ali rolls up Dragon Leaf, and then Dominic has the quick count. And I love that commentary is telling the story that Dominic has claimed he is the best luchador in the business right now in WWE, and he doesn't want to face an actual great luchador in Dragon Lee. But what sold me even more of the kind of story we can potentially get out of this is Mustafa Ali is happy he wins, sees the replay, and then gets pissed off at Dominic. It's like, yo, bro, this is not how I wanted to win. So, two things occurred in my mind at this point. Number one, we're either going to get some sort of rematch slash and or Mustafa might give the spot to Dragon Lee, but Dragon will be like, nah, let's fight again with a regular ref to see who it is. Or number two, because of the injustice that has been done, and Mustafa Ali's current character is just like, I want things done fairly, so this injustice cannot stand. I can also see that it gets announced that Dominic will have to defend this title again in a triple threat between Mustafa and Dragon. Whatever the path they choose to go with this, I don't care because any combination of these three gentlemen for this NXT North American Championship is going to be great, and I'm here for it.
Yes. Yeah, that I was. I agree with. I'm going to tell you absolutely. I agree with you. I think Dom was great as a referee. I mean, he was literally. I mean, it was like I was like, okay, he's legit because I was watching. And he was like legitimately like down the middle. I mean, I was very surprised because all the talk up prior to it. I thought he was going to be throwing all kinds of crap in here. But he waited till the last minute, and I was like, okay, good for you, man. I mean, I actually was like, okay, I kind of respect you for that. That you didn't try to disrupt the whole fight. That you literally just like, you know what, fast count. That was his bit, and I was like, okay, cool. I kind of liked that. I did. Yeah, I was very much like, I was like, that was so sus because it was like I was like, oh, it was literally like 1, 2, 3. I was like, whoa, God Almighty! But I agree with you. I think what I would love to see is I would love to see something very honorable between Mustafa and Dragon, like sort of a hey, that wasn't fair. Let's have a real fight, you and let's really see who it's going to be. Whoever wins goes. That to me would be great, and then or whoever fights Dominic, somebody comes in and like throws a brick at him. I don't know. It's one of those things. I agree with you. I would like to see something honorable between those two men. Like because I agree. It was like that's not how you want to win. Because he even when he like punched him at the end, I was like, yeah, you tell him. You tell him you're an honorable man, dude. He's like, I want to fight. I want to win fair and square. And so I do. I agree with you. I really kind of hope we get something between Dragon and Mustafa. I really do. Something kind of cool.
Exactly. Mustafa is honorable, so is Dragon Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and our current North American champion is not honorable. He is
No.
he is no, he is not an honorable man. Speaking of men being honorable, so this next segment had me intrigued. So we see Trick in the back in the locker room, kind of just chilling. He's on the phone, and then he's like, hold up, I'm gonna call you back. And then walks in Ilya. So Trick's ready to fight. He's like, all right, round 2, let's go. And Ilya's like, dude, I'm not here to fight you. Now, what Ilya said, I was just like, ooh, we are still on
Oh.
this. And I love it because last week we saw that Trick was just like, bro, it's not that as Carmella walked away, it's just like, I didn't think you could win. I knew you could win. And then Ilya's just like, bro, we got like starting to get a little bit delusional, kind of. And it's just like, Trick, dude, we got to stop with the lies. You know that Carmelo only won because I got hit in the head with that title. And Trick said, bro, that is on you. That has nothing to do with Carmelo. You made a choice. And I wasn't there to do it. Like, Trick is still standing his ground that his intention was not to hit Ilya with that title. It was a pure accident. And Ilya's just like, I'm going to give you one more chance. And if you don't come clean to Carmelo, you better be ready. Because after I'm done with Wesley, I'm going to be taking names elsewhere. And then Trick is just like, he literally threatens Trick to be like, you better tell Carmelo the truth of what you did. And then we're square. Because if you don't, you're next on my hit list. I'm like, Ilya's kind of being delusional and I'm kind of here for it. And Trick is like, I love Trick not backing down here. It's like, listen, dude, this is not how it happened. So now I'm wondering if Trick somehow inadvertently gets involved in Wes and Ilya's match, causes the shenanigans, and it's just like, all right, we're getting a triple threat, you guys. I was like, Trick is going to be the catalyst to something, and I'm
Yeah,
excited. I can't wait because
yeah.
right now, Trick is still on Carmelo's side, but the last couple of weeks, Carmelo has been kind of putting him on the back burner. I'm like, ooh, y'all supposed to be homies.
And see, this is what I liked about that Carmelo is that he was so paranoid that he was pushing his friends away. And to me, what I would love is that he pushes everybody away. And then when he's fighting either Ilya or Wes, whoever he's fighting in that big event, that he gets into trouble and no one is there to help him because he literally has downed and dissed every single one of his friends. And I'm sorry, but the way he talked to Trick should have dropped him like a hot potato because it was like, dude, he is disrespecting you to your face by basically that whole asterisk thing. Every time he said it, it made my skin crawl. And I was like, I was going to defend Trick. I was like, I'll fight you because you are pissing me off. Leave this man alone. Stop rubbing whatever the hell this is in his face, dude. And I was when Trick and Ilya were talking in the back, I was just like, what is happening here? Because yeah, it was like, hey, you either need to come clean. Oh no, you need to come clean. And it's like both of these men have something they're hiding or they're coveting, whatever it may be. And I'm just like, to me, what I got out of it was Ilya basically going, dude, if Carmella is what you call a friend, then you need to probably look elsewhere. And I mean, Ilya dropped a truth bomb on him because I'm sorry, but Carmella has been treating Trick like crap, and Trick should walk away. I mean, he should. I'm sorry, you have way too much loyalty for a man who gives you zero respect. Walk away from that. I'm not saying go with Ilya, but walk away. Even though personally, if he did kind of side with Ilya, that would be a beautiful thing. Because Ilya taking the one person who has done nothing but support Carmelo in all of his paranoid bullshit. If Ilya walked in there and took that man onto his side, I would be there for it. And I would be like, Carmella, you fucking deserved it. So,
I'm excited to see where this
oof,
story develops. It's going to be
me
really,
too.
really great. It's going to be
Oof,
beautiful.
me too.
After Trick and Ilya, we get another backstage segment. This time, we see the crew of Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey still needs a haircut,
Haircut.
and Damon Kemp. And the three of them basically confront their, janitor, their, underling Miles, And they're like, "Did you not think we were gonna find out about your little rendezvous with, Fallon Henley, and then potentially hear that you might be joining her and the tag team of Brooks and Jensen, who are our other Regnet slash Cowboy tag team we got, but which we didn't see tonight, which is very interesting." And basically, they're berating him. And Drew literally tells him, "It's like, bro, if you were ready for a match, I would have told you, but you're not ready." And then we ended this segment. He's like, "Next week, you have one chance to prove yourself." And then the three of them walk away. And I love that trope of where they walk away and it's just Miles with himself and his thoughts speaking out loud to the audience. He's like, "Oh, don't worry. I will." I was like, "Oh, we're going to get some drama. I'm here
Uh-huh.
for it."
Me too.
Miles needs to lead this group and join the Cowboys cuz that would be so much fun.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens. So it seems that Miles is going to make his in-ring debut next week and I'm kind of here for
Here
it.
for it. Yeah. Yeah, now let's see you really sweep that mat.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm interested to see what happens. And then I need a moment. Okay. Listen, we here at El Jefe y El Oso Loco, like this is what happens when you get two wrestling fans who like to ogle all the bodies. Because next, child, I need a moment.
Yeah, no.
Because even though this was a quick segment, we get my Menzes Eddie Thorpe, like, see what seems to be after his match with Dijak last week, and he's pissed. He's like, "So this is how we gonna be, Dijak? This is how it's gonna go." It was when we first fought a couple weeks ago, it was the turnbuckle. Then it was your weighted belts, and you try to jump me before the match. You better watch your back because next time we're in the ring, I'm gonna make sure to get even with you. And this Eddie is vindictive and vengeful, and I'm here for it. And I'm hoping, if not on television, I need these two to have some sort of street fight, no DQ, very violent blow off match, either on television or if you want to wait till No Mercy, please save it for No Mercy because Eddie Thorpe on pay per view. So with Dijak is monies, but Eddie is ready to throw down, and
Ooh.
I love it because Eddie's been playing by the book. He's been the calm, peaceful one. Again, his hold my earrings moment from last week is still one of my favorite spots.
Yep.
But now to see Eddie turn, it's like, okay, so you want to fight? Then I'm gonna give you a fight. You better be ready, Dijak, because I'm gonna kick your ass next time I see you.
Yeah. I love this one because it's like we get Eddie, last week we got Eddie as sort of that the spiritual leader, of his people, that sort of thing. And this time we've got like warrior Eddie. Like he is out for blood. He was so pissed. He was so, and I was just like, ooh, 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 this is gonna be good. I'm like, Dijak, you better be checking over your shoulder because Eddie he is hot in more than one way. He is
Yes.
hot. Yeah, and that was great. It was really short, but it was like, ooh,
It
this is
served
gonna
its
get good.
purpose. It served its purpose. And then, once we got to see Eddie Thorpe, we jump into our next match of the evening, another Global Heritage Invitational, this time in Block B, with Butch taking on, hailing from Spain, Axiom, our Espanol luchador. Listen, I love Axiom to a passion, formerly known as A Kid in NXT UK. Again, I described his style last week on the review. He takes the luchador moves, but is also a submissions and grounds to the mat wrestler's specialty. Man, this match ruled.
It
This
did.
match ruled so much.
It did.
And what surprised me even more is this is the first Global Heritage match that ended in the 12-minute time limit. So this is the first
Yeah.
draw.
The first
This is our
draw.
first draw. I was like, no, give me 3 more minutes. I'm like,
Yes, I know. Can we can we get
I
can
was
we get
so
an
mad when it
extension?
ended.
Oh, I know, me too. I was like, no. Oh, it was so good. I was like, this is it. Now, this is my second one, I have to say. Butch is now also one of my favorite wrestlers. I was very critical of him when I first met him because I was like, ooh, this guy is creepy and he creeps me out. But after this match, I love this man. I love his style. I love the faces he makes when he's doing what he's doing, like that crazy long haired weirdo in the woods. and the onesie is starting to wear on me, so I'm kind of okay with it now. But I this match made me love this man, and there was a beautiful little moment, and it was probably, no one probably was like, oh, what when did that happen? And I think it was like towards either the beginning or towards the middle, and there was just this moment where the camera was on him and they were talking, and he just goes, "That's all he
That is
did."
my favorite moment ever. Okay, so it's kind of similar to what we talked about during our all out pay per view with the Samoa Joe nope spots. Like Samoa
Yeah,
Joe just walks away from somebody doing a move. Butch's thing is he just literally breaks the fourth wall, turns to the camera, shrugs his shoulders, and then goes to continue to beat that
yeah.
ass.
Oh my god, it was brilliant. It was a beautiful little moment that just made me love the man. And I was like, okay, I'm yours
But
now.
I like this match. I think better showcase what Butch has in his arsenal, because last week we saw him go up against Charlie Dempsey, and their styles are kind of similar, like very grounded to the mat, very joint manipulative. And then Butch had to change his style up when you have somebody who's a submission expert and a kind somewhat of a high flyer in Axiom. Axiom with his different submission holds, like the transitions. When one wasn't working, he didn't wait. Oh, okay, let's wait for the guy to get up. He's like, that's not working. Bam, flip into another one. Bam, flip into this one.
Yep,
And just that speedster luchador style too. He's like in a leg lock. It's like, oh, let me roll to get to this ring with my hand. I'm gonna touch it with my arm. I'm gonna touch it with the foot. Like it went like this. And
he
then as
did.
I feel like we were getting to the crescendo, the bell rings. I'm like, no, I don't want
Yep.
it to be over. This is
No,
good.
I didn't either. I did not want it to end. I was like, I, there were so many close calls. That was what's so great. I mean, it was tons. Like one, it was like bam, 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 and you're just like, oh god, oh god, oh god. It's like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh! And then they heard the announcer going, not whatever, however long you had left, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a close one. This is gonna be so close. And they're like, oh, I think he's got like 90 seconds, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, it was so on the edge of my seat. I was just like, and I was. This is the one I was talking to the screen, and my students were like, "Are you okay in there?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm good. I'm watching something." Because I was like just like yelling at the screen.
I love that so much.
Oh my god, it
Man,
was so funny.
now, I mean, we might have different takes, but based on everything we saw tonight, for me personally, this was my match of the night because of
Yep.
how great it was. I love seeing Butch. I love seeing Axiom wrestle. Their styles complement each
Yep.
other so well. But what makes it more interesting is with this draw, Axiom has 1 point on the board because this is his first match in this
Yep.
tournament. And now Butch has three.
3.
So the two from the win last week and the one from the draw this week. So now he kind of extends the lead a little bit. And I love the, oh, are they going to fight? Nah, they have respect for each other. So they did the fist bump at the end. And then we saw an appearance from our little strong boy, Tyler Bate, come out. And I was like, oh, yeah, Tyler hasn't had his first match yet. And when we get to the bumpers of who he's facing, I'm like, listen, I need to take another moment because my body's not ready. I'm telling you, my body's not ready, but we will talk about that when we get to that section. But this personally was my match of the night.
This was mine as well. This match, it was so good that, and the fact that it went the whole time and was a draw, just, I mean, I was literally yelling at my screen. I was so on the edge of my seat. Every move, every near pin, every near count out, I mean, everything was just, I was stressing out because I was like, oh my god, who's going to win? And the energy in this was so high. It just exuded in the entire building. And oh, and by the way, I meant to say NXT has some pretty decent lighting in their venue. I love that you can see the audience really well. I hate when the audience is in like darkness. That's so weird to me. Because your audience is also part of the show. So But yeah, this match was, God, it was so good. I was like, I would if this whole event could have been as high and amazing as this one fight, man, this would have been a hell of an episode.
It was just
This,
like, it would have been an awesome
ooh,
regular episode of NXT, not a
ooh,
TV special,
yeah.
not a pay per view, just another awesome show, man. So we get that match. That was a lot of fun. And then in my notes, I wrote, so we get this brief backstage kind of video package of Von Wagner in darkness with his face being lit up, talking to somebody. I was like, who is he talking to? And I was like, oh, he's talking dirty to this table. That's fucking hilarious. And then his Robert Stone comes out. It's like, you ready for this? And I'm like, I'm ready, Mr. Stone. And then they walk off. I'm like, sir, I was like, was I about to watch you make out with this table? Like, what is happening? It's so
Okay.
weird.
So, and Mikey and I have talked about this off reviews. Is that as a gay man, this is very like erotic and it's sexy, and I don't know if this is unintentionally super gay or if this is intentionally super gay, but this is super gay. And when he literally says, and I wrote it down, Braun Breaker is getting his ass tabled, that has got to be intentional. There's no way. There's no way that he does not know what he's saying. No way.
God, I hope this is intentional and he's in on the joke, because
Yeah,
then I'm
me
like,
too.
this is genius.
Because if it is, you go, boy, and I will give you all the credit for it, because it is so like cheesy and ridiculous, but man, it just brings you in because you're literally like, what did he just say? Did he is
I
it
heard that right?
right? It's like, wait, did he? Okay, all right, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Yeah, I loved it. That
Oh
little moment was
my
great.
gosh.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was a quick segment. I was like, what is happening? Then we cut back to the Diamond Dojo, where the last team to arrive is Los Lotharios, finally, after we were told last week they were going to return. So they had to waste no time stepping up to Tony and Stax. It's like, listen, we're going to claw whoever we have to in our way to get to those titles. They talk a little bit of smack. Then, my favorite part of what I knew was going to happen, the family and Los Lotharios fight, which causes everybody else and their mother to jump in and start fighting. Like, we have Lucian and Bronco jump in. Then we have Hank and Tank. Like, literally everyone just starts fighting like their life depends on it. It is ridiculous. And the Diamond Mine is just like, you guys, we were just here to have a good time. And then everyone's just fighting. And I'm just going to throw what happens afterwards. So literally, everybody is left. The Diamond Dojo is a mess. Tables are everywhere. The drinks and food are on the floor. Ivy kills it with this because the sense of time was so freaking hilarious. She's like, you guys, I was gone for like 5 minutes. What the hell happened? And I love that the only response the Creed brothers gave is like, we just took care of business, was it? And Ivy's like that big sister. It's like, you guys are idiots, but you're my idiots. You are muted.
Why does it keep doing that?
I
That's
don't
so
know.
weird. But yeah, it's like, yeah, she comes in literally like, I had my back turned for 5 minutes, and what the hell happened? And I just love that the Creed brothers are just chilling. They're just like, hey, what's going on? It's like, hey, yeah, we did what we had to do. And I'm like, I loved it. It was such a wonderful little cherry on the top of that whole sequence through the night. It was so great. It
It
was so
really, really
great.
was.
Oh,
And, it kept going because next we see the fruits of what happened earlier in the show. We see Gigi taking on Thea. This match was a lot of fun. Thea is
yep.
getting more aggressive in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Gigi was no slacker. It was kind of even.
No.
And
Yeah.
then Miss Difference Maker herself towards the
Oh,
end Blair comes in, inserts herself into the drama. Literally looked like Gigi's arm got ripped out of its socket thanks to Blair. Blair throws her in, and then Thea gets the win here because of Blair. Thea gets the submission in, and Gigi's like, no, no, no.
I know.
Honestly, I love this Mean Girl versus Gigi saga we got going on.
I do too. I love it too. I was surprised that this match ended in a submission. I thought for sure this was going to be a count out. I for sure thought this was going to be like Thea getting Gigi and getting the 3 count. I really thought that was going to be the outcome. I was really surprised that it was a submission. Because, and I love it that it's a submission, because then, which just makes Gigi more and more pissed off, which will make it even better match down the road. But I was kind of surprised. I was really kind of surprised that it was a submission move.
I know Thea's thing right now, even when she was like before Great of American Bash, she was learning submission moves from Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. So she's including submissions. But now I love that with the submissions, she's being more vicious with them too. It's just like still energetic, but now it gives off an air of more violence. And I'm kind of here for that. And again, if we get more Mean Girl trio and Gigi like wanting to beat their butts every single week, and like Gigi versus each of them individually, and then if anybody of the other girls want to come in, like honestly, this was great. Yeah. I love Thea. I love that there's a change in her character. I mean, she's still tied to Chase U, so I'm excited to see when that pin drops. Like when I just want to see Thea go wild and like beat up Duke and Andre Chase. Like that'd be hilarious.
Can I just say I love the little bits with Thea's entrance when she brought the megaphone in with her, and JC's like, no. She's like, fine. She like threw it down, and it was like,
she's like, I'm over this, and she literally like put it down and just kicked it.
Yeah, like, and then she got in the ring and started doing more of her like her little cheerleader stuff.
And JC's like, just like, girl, we need to calm down. And she's like, oh, okay.
It was so great.
I love it so much.
I love whatever this is. I want this to last a little while. I mean, they're probably leading up to something, but I want this to stay just for a little while, because this Thea is super fun and cheesy and silly and more vicious, like in the ring. But the character has become sort of a caricature, and I'm loving it, and I'm loving whatever JC's getting from it. She's getting something from this, and I can't wait to find out what it is. Because I just love this whole makeover thing when they were in the back, and she's like, there, see, look. She's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. It's like, I am here for this. I am so here for this.
I love it so much.
Gothia.
So more of Gothia and this trio and Gigi. Like, I love this Mean Girls Gigi versus the Mean Girl world is something I want, and I can't wait. Okay, so we mentioned this earlier. So we get Tiffany Stratton's outside of the NXT, area of the stage and like the building. And so she cuts this promo, hyping up her fight against Becky Lynch. And she literally she basically runs down Becky's accolades, but says, you might be the man on the main roster, but I'm the center of this universe. And come next Tuesday, I'm going to go through you and remind everybody that I am the best women's champion, and this is something you can't have. And I literally wrote this down to punctuate her promo. She ends this by saying, see you next Tuesday, bitch, and then walks off. I was like, yes, Tiffany, Barbie Quinn has evolved, and I am excited.
I was like, see you next Tuesday. I was like, oh. Got a double one in there. I was like, see you next Tuesday, bitch. And I was like, oh, I'm in love with you. I think
the punctuation on that too was and the inflection. I was just like, ooh, that was dirty, and I loved it.
I did. I was like, Barbie Quinn is coming for your ass. She is coming for you, girl. You better. I was
like, Becky better be ready, because Tiffany is ready for war, and I'm here for it.
Ooh, I am too.
Now, before we get to the main event, as always, commentary gives us the bumpers of what to expect next week. And just from these 4 matches alone, William, this next week's show is about to be on and popping because we get in the main event for next week. So this is going to be the main event for next week's show for the NXT Women's Championship. Tiffany versus Becky Lynch is going to be great. We have 2 Global Heritage Invitationals. Nathan Frazier versus Akira Tozawa is going to be great. So we'll finally see Akira on NXT TV have a match. But then the match that I'm so excited for, Tyler Bate versus Axiom. Lord have mercy, my body is not ready. So, but then to top it all off, those 3 matches are stacked. Then the 4th and final match that they announce in the bumpers, as for certain what's going to happen next week for #1 contendership for the NXT Championship to get the right to face Carmelo at No Mercy, Wesley versus Ilya Dragunov. Will, I don't know if I'm ready for next week's show. It's going to be, oh man, I'm so excited.
I know. I don't. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Wes and Ilya are my boys, and now they're going to be fighting each other, and I'm just like, where do my loyalties lie? I don't know. I don't know where to put myself.
I mean, we can both put ourselves in between them anytime,
right? Absolutely.
But that's my favorite part about being a wrestling fan is when they build the characters and then you invested so much time in these characters and then they put your 2 favorites up against each other. I'm like, again, wondering where your loyalties lie is one of my favorite things as a wrestling fan because that means they've done a good job of building the characters and they've got you invested in these characters. Next week's show is going to be a lot of fun. But before we get to that, we got to finish off this week's. And this main event was wild. So, Von Wagner versus Braun Breaker in a no DQ match. Oh my gosh, where do we begin? So there were chairs, there were kendo sticks. There was tables being broken, Braun Breaker being thrown through the NXT logo by the wall. Like, oh my gosh, this was intense. Now, of course, I knew that this wasn't going to be the most like fast-paced technical match because it's like no DQ, and Von Wagner is kind of being built as this kind of like in the sense of the Great Khali and like these big giant wrestlers where they're more of the power stuff instead of the technical. And then Braun did a really good job of carrying because Vaughn is still new to wrestling, so he's still green. And Braun has been doing this for a while. I mean, he's the kid of Rick Steiner, of all people. Right. Like, this is crazy. So it's in his DNA. Braun did a good job of carrying Wagner. I'm gonna say Wagner because Vaughn and Braun. My tongue's gonna get tied. So Wagner, he carried Wagner through. But Wagner had some really good, like, again, the chair spot, the kendo stick, throwing Braun through the table and the wall was amazing. Of course, after a quick kind of 1-2 combo of being violent, Braun Breaker picks up the win. So I was like, okay, I figured Braun was going to win this one.
Yeah.
But then the twist of the century. So Braun comes and takes Wagner. He drags him over to the steel steps. Braun picks up the steps, holds them up, and as it comes down and we hear the crash of the steps, NXT fucking fades to black, and we hear Vic Joseph's like, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" And then Baron's like, "Oh my god, he actually did it!" And everybody's like booing and is yelling, and then is like, "Oh my god!" And literally, we end the episode there. Like, it goes off. We end NXT this week on a fade to black screen before the logo pops up, and then it jumps into like the next scheduled programming on USA Network. I literally sat there for 5 minutes after that. My mouth was agape. I was just like, I think I just witnessed homicide on my television screen. And then what made it worse is if you go onto the Instagram for NXT, it shows what happened afterwards. Wagner is like bandaged up. There's blood all over it. Like, it looked like he got bisected. I was like, oh my God. Like, Braun Breaker is a menace out here. He's on the wanted list. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy. He fucking finally snapped, which is what we've been building to, is Braun Breaker has just been slowly losing his mind, and this episode is where he snapped. I was like, holy hell. I was
And
like,
now it's like, and now Corbin, guess what? He is coming for your ass.
ooh, Baron better be ready because Braun has nothing left to lose. And I'm just like, listen, I've been watching NXT since its inception days for a very, very long time. From, the original class, which included the likes of Seth Rollins and Big E, to the Black and Gold era, to the kind of Black and Gold, but Vince McMahon, then 2.0, and then this current version. This is I can honestly say this. This is the wildest moment I have ever seen on my wrestling television screen. And I thought Impact Wrestling has some crazy ass shit with undead realms and people getting shot at weddings. I witnessed a homicide on my television screen in NXT. The fade to black is something that I have never seen in NXT. And I was like, damn, now I got to come back next week to watch to see how this unfolds. And I was like, that's how you end the show. Holy crap.
It was so good. I was like, oh my! I was literally like, wow. I was like, okay, this match is obviously not over. Someone's got an axe to grind. And then he like threw Wagner into those stairs, and then Wagner was down, and he went and took the top one off, and he was like looking at it for a second. And I was like, is he gonna just like pound him with it? But when he picked him up, put his head on that step, and then raised that thing up and came down, and it went to black. I was just like, my brain exploded. I was just like, why? What just happened? I literally was like, oh my God. Like you said, I think someone just got murdered. I was like, it was so well done. I mean, so well done. And yeah, I'm here for next week. Oh my God. Because I have to find out. This is one of those things. I have to find
Seriously.
out. And
I was
they
just like,
better not disappoint.
I'm like, ooh, I was like, Shawn Michaels needs to address this. Like, Braun Breaker has snapped. The locker room has officially been put on notice. Like, we literally have a suspected
Like,
murder on
yeah,
the roster. It
like
is,
literally, like,
listen,
I mean, attempted murder.
and to me, like, from a writing and kind of like a staging viewpoint, I was just like, that is a beautiful way to keep your viewers invested. It's like watching a television show with a big old cliffhanger. I was like, this was not how I was expecting my night to end. But that brings us to the end of this review. And what a way for this to end.
Holy crap! You're not kidding. I was just, I am still speechless. I'm still like, and it's I've had hours to digest it, and I'm still like, what happened? I mean,
Man.
I don't even know. I mean, it happened so fast. My brain couldn't catch up. It was like, did did that did that just happen? Did I mean literally? Even though I know the man's not dead, but my brain was literally like, I literally think he killed that man on television. And and I mean and you're right. You want to bring your fans back. That's what you do right there. Because I guarantee you, everybody who was watching this yesterday or whenever it was, they will be back next week to find out what happened. Because I know I will be, and
Seriously.
mainly because I have to review it, but I want to be. I was like, I want
Seriously.
to be
Not I mean, next week's going to be great with the 4 matches we know that are going to happen. But now I'm just like, I would come back also because the 5th thing now is where direction do we go with the story? How is it going to be addressed? Like, it's about to go down. It is going to be wild. Seriously.
That was literally, I think I texted Mikey as like, well, that's the way to end an event. I like you. I literally sat there for like 10 minutes, just like, I don't know what I should write down. I was like, should I call somebody? I mean, it's like, do I need to call 911? What do I need to do? Because I literally think he just killed that dude. I was I was like,
Jeez
well,
Louise.
I
I would.
guess
Yep.
no one's getting tabled tonight, but
We witnessed. So this. What a way to end the show. And since we're at the end, we got to do two things. So first, before we get into our rating and our final thoughts, we do need to pick the Will's hotness corner for this week. So, who is the hottest male and female for this week's episode of NXT?
okay, I'm gonna start with the females first. And that tonight for me was Thea. Thea was not only was she on fire in the ring, but I am digging this new look she's got going on. I'm digging that new look. I think it's I like brunettes anyway, but the blonde cheerleader. I was just like, okay. But now we got this sort of goth chick sort of version of Thea, and I was really into it tonight. I was like, okay, girl, I'm digging this. So she's my hot pick for the ladies. For the men, I have to say, and this is gonna probably be weird. Well, it's not gonna be weird. Of course, Eddie Thorpe was there, and I'm just like, oh, Eddie. So, but I didn't pick him because he wasn't actually in the event. He was just sort of a side note, really. I'm going to go with Ilya Dragunov because he was sexy in his fight tonight. I don't necessarily when I first watched him, I didn't necessarily go, oh, he's a good looking man. But tonight, his aggressiveness tonight was like BDSM, and I was like, I'd be okay if you wanted to tie me up and do some stuff. I'd be cool with that. And I don't relinquish control often, but man, I think I would relinquish control to him. So Ilya is my hot pick for the men, and there are plenty of men there tonight that were just scrumptious and delicious. But there was something in that match that I was just like, whoa, okay, you got me going. And of course now he's my absolute favorite wrestler in
Oh
NXT
yes.
right now.
Oh yes.
So Ilya Dragunov and Thea are my hot picks for the night.
So I will pick the same female as you. So Thea is also my favorite. I love seeing this change in her character dynamic and what she's going with, and her aesthetic is great. As for the men, though, yes, I love me some Eddie Thorpe, and I will be a little biased, but I'm gonna give it this week to Tyler Bate because
I almost went
first of
there.
all, that match against Davocado and just seeing him, at first when he tried to lift Davo, I was like, oh, it's not going to work. And then he shocked me and I literally let out a high pitched scream. I was like, oh my gosh. Like it was nuts. Seeing him and again, his physique is nice, but from a scientific physiological perspective, the way his muscles tensed as he was picking up Davocado, and just I could see the muscles working to overtime. I was just like, "Listen, Tyler, call me." Like seriously, but
My
I
digits.
love this David-esque character he has. He's tiny, but he is very strong. So Thea and Tyler are my picks for this
Now,
week.
I will say that my favorite move tonight was by Tyler, and that was when he picked Avocado
Yep, agreed.
and spin him around. So I was he was definitely my highlight moment of the night because that was a great moment. It really was because he had attempted to pick him up two other times, and it was not till the end of the fight that he just sort of like pulled all he had and just lifted this behemoth on his shoulders and just started spinning him. And I was like, all right. And I will also admit that he's a hairy little munchkin. He's a cutie. He is a cutie.
I love it. Alrighty, Will. So last thing we got to do is we got to rate this week. So this one's interesting. So, um, I can go first if you like, or you could go
It
first.
doesn't matter. You go. Why don't you go?
Okay.
You can go. I mean, I know what I'm going to give it, but you go
Okay.
first.
So for me personally, I'm gonna give this show And it takes a lot for me to go below a 7, but I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. I still enjoyed myself. I think what bothered me with this show, and we talked about it a little bit off camera and towards the beginning of the review, you have two different stories being told, the build to No Mercy and then your regular build for each weekly television show. And I feel that the pacing was a little weird because there was a lot of things for the build to No Mercy that could have been done in a video package or some, or like reduce the amount of time that certain things happen. Whereas on the other side, I feel like other matches that aren't No Mercy related could have gotten a little more. And ultimately, I still enjoyed myself. But because of the pacing, some things felt rushed, some things felt a little too long in terms of, hanging in the air. Like, as much I'm excited for West versus Ilya, but as I mentioned, I think the big down point for me was the Carmelo's execution of how he set up that match in person. It didn't really feel like he needed to be there. He could have did what Becky did and cut a video promo and then he played on the Titantron, or even have Shawn Michaels come out and say, "Hey, you two have a history with Carmelo, and after talking with him, me and him have come to the decision like you two need to fight for this next week and the winner will go to No Mercy." But I still enjoyed it for what we got. Obviously, Butch versus Axiom was a big highlight. The possible murder on my television screen literally shocked me to my core as a wrestling fan, and I have seen some crazy stuff. I just witnessed Orange Cassidy bleed all over himself at All Out, but yet I have never seen a potential homicide fade to black combination, and I was shook. So I give this a 7 out of 10 for this week.
So I guess I'm going to be the bad guy here because I actually gave it a 6.5 ish, maybe a 6. And this is all technical. It's programming, that sort of thing, because the matches themselves were great and I enjoyed watching it. But because of it felt so disjointed. And like Mikey was saying, that pacing was off. And it's like, if you're going to do, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I truly believe that. You've got to mix. You've got, and I think that was the part of it is you've got to mix the the non main event stuff in with the main event stuff. So you're working towards that big pay per view at the end, but you can't just throw in, or it actually didn't even feel like thrown in. It felt like an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, we got these other people. We need to do something with them. So let's just sort of intersperse them in, do little promos backstage with them, and it really kind of disrupted the flow of the episode. And so I was really kind of disappointed in their programming because, like I said, the women's fight at the beginning should have been longer, and then there were the men's fights later on that should have been shorter. Because it's like, okay, yeah, and so I was just sort of like, I don't know who does their programming because I just want to talk to that person because it's like, dude, come on. Because sometimes they're like fantastic. Like last week's episode was fantastic. The programming was good. I mean, it flowed really well with all the storylines flowed. It was like a continuity was perfect. The continuity in tonight's was completely all over the place. Because I think they did it 3 times, and I talked to Mikey about this before we started about last week, and it's like I don't care about last week. That happened already. Bring them into the current week. Let us see Eddie Thorpe now, not a week ago. Let him come in a whole week and he's still steamed and pissed. Let us see that. And I really wanted that sort of thing. And it just worked. And I was telling Mike, it's like as an actor, you see an actor on stage and they drop character, it just sort of kicks you out. And that's what it felt like. And but like I said again, everything else. I mean, everything individually was fun. Had a great time. But and then I'm going to absolutely harp on the Carmelo thing because even he didn't even have to be involved. The owner, what's his name again? I'm sorry,
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. That's it. I can't want to call him Lance for some reason. Shawn Michaels, and he should have come on the Titantron, and he should have said, "I decided the two of you are going to fight it out. Whoever wins is going to fight Carmelo. That's my decision." And I would have been like, hell yeah, that's the way you do it. Not Carmelo came up in there like he owned the damn place. And I was like, dude, literally 5 minutes ago, you were all like paranoid that, elves were stealing your socks or some shit. And now all of a sudden you're like this super confident, like person. It's like, where the hell? What? I totally didn't believe it. I was like, the transition made no sense. It's like a character doesn't just flip like that. There has to be something. And he literally was like, oh, hey guys, and I'm like, shut up. Like, literally, shut up. Let Wes and Ilya let them sort it out, and then Shawn Michaels should have came on and said, "All right, guys, I know you guys got a thing, so here's what we're gonna do. I have decided that the two of you are gonna fight. Whoever wins will fight Carmelo. Done." And that's what it should have been. Carmelo shouldn't even have been involved in it. Honestly, I don't even think he should have done like a video packet. I think Shawn Michaels should have came in as the freaking owner and said, I am making this decision. This is what it's going to be. I would have been far more on board with that than the way it went down tonight. It just cheapened it. I think with Carmelo in there, it just cheapened the whole challenge. And it just felt weak to me. So that's kind of why I'm about 6.5 ish. I think it could have been so much better if they had focused on the right things. I think the wrong things were being focused on, truly. So, so 6.5 out of 10 for me.
Very nice. But that unfortunately does come, brings us to the end of El Jefe y El Oso Loco for this week. But to worry not, because we will be back next week to review a pretty stacked episode of NXT as we continue to build towards No Mercy. If you like what we do in this review, make sure to check out other long form reviews of NXT here on the Biconics YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit that bell notification, share these videos. We'd like to have a conversation with you. You can also follow us all over the social medias from Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, at BC WrestlePod. You can follow us individually from there as well. And if you like to see more of wrestling nonsense, you can check out the Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where we pretty much talk anything and everything wrestling. It is a great time. You can find that podcast wherever podcasts can be found: Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're all over the place. But to Will, this was such a pleasure to review this week's episode with you.
Absolutely. Always a great time.
I love it so much. And until the next El Jefe y El Oso Loco review, this is Mikey with my co-host Will. Remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and until the next review, adios, sayonara, and thanks for watching.